Oh, I hit the button, didn't I? I'm getting coffee. And then I have to share the link. It feels like it's been forever since I got on here because let's see, when was I live last? I don't remember. Let's see. No, Monday was a holiday. Tuesday was a snow day for the kids. Wednesday was yesterday, and I had a dentist appointment, which I would have let everyone know on Tuesday, but Tuesday was chaos with the kids having a snow day, just everything going wrong. So I wasn't able to go live. So I actually haven't been here since Friday. Oh my God. Or Thursday. I don't know. Was it? Wait. I don't remember. Good morning, Taylor. How are you? I have to share the link. I had to grab coffee. Need a light. I'm trying so hard to get back into the swing of things. I had a dentist appointment yesterday. All right, here we go. I really need a new stand that more easily fits my iPhone case because I don't want to take my iPhone out of its case every time I want to go live. Thursday, that's right. Friday I had a migraine. That's right. You're right. I woke up with a migraine and I was like, I cannot do this. And then Monday was a holiday. And then Tuesday, the kids were home from school because of a snow day. And then yesterday was a dentist appointment. Whew. All right, let me share the link so we can get everyone else here. How was your week? Taylor, how was your week? Come on. Everything was frozen in Texas, turned into a popsicle. Oh man, I have a friend I have several friends in Texas, but I have one in particular who lives in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and she was saying how they've lost power like 4 times already in like the week. Yesterday and today suck for personal reasons. I'm sorry. I gotta undo this ridiculous hair though. I mean, I like it because my kids like it, but they think it's oh so cute. And I wear it when I'm walking them to school. I put my hair in pigtails so it fits, like, so my scarf can get like up and like, but anyway. Good morning. Hello, Farah, Judith, Dale, Alex, Shannon. Hello. You look so cute. Thank you. That's, so I wear my hair in pigtails so that when I walk the kids to school, so that the scarf like actually protects my neck. And then Christopher goes, "You look so cute, mommy." So like I kind of wear it for him too because he likes it. But right now I'm like, I need it not at my, like here, like it snowed literally everywhere around our town, but not in our town. So nothing fun about the frigid cold. Oh no. Harley, how are you? Gosh, it feels like forever. Christopher also picked my nail polish. So I gave him like 2 options, both of which I would have been happy with, but I think he did good. They're these really super cheap nail stickers on Amazon. It was like $8 for like 20 sheets of different colors. And I was like, even if I only end up liking 2 or 3 of them, it's still worth it because they're usually like $20 for 1 sheet. Ice and popsicle Taylor. It does feel like forever. Busy with work as per. Yeah. Oh, we're doing great. I'm so glad to see you. I shouldn't speak for everyone like that. Someone told me today that they love my pen name. Yay! It is a good one. I need so much coffee. I haven't had my morning coffee in about a week. Yeah, about a week. This Friday I had my migraine. The kids were home for the weekend. The kids were also home on Friday for a snow day. So that was fun. And then Monday was a holiday and the kids were home. And I made coffee, but I didn't drink it. Like, it sat there until it got cold, and then I heated it up in the microwave, and then like 2 hours later I found it in the microwave, and so I heated it up again, and then like 2 hours after that I found it again in the microwave, and so I went to go heat it up again, and I was like, well, now it's going to be gross. Like, if I don't drink it this time, it's just going to be gross. And then about an hour after that, Piper found it in the microwave, and she was like, Mom? And I was like, I give up. Just dump it. And then Tuesday ended up being a snow day. No, wait. Yeah. Tuesday ended up being a snow day. And then yesterday I had a dentist appointment. So I haven't had coffee since like my morning cup of coffee since Thursday. I've been trying to find an afternoon free to log in. I'm so glad you did. I didn't even have to bribe them for the compliment. Those are the best kinds. No coffee since Thursday. I know, right? You live on coffee and sarcasm. You usually get migraines when you don't have coffee. I used to drink so much coffee that if I went more than a few hours without, I would get that caffeine migraine. I don't anymore. You think you'd fall asleep at the wheel without it? Those are BS, seriously, because of flavored water. I was going to try posting reviews on books in my genre. No negative ones, of course, but I keep picking up books that are controversial. Okay, so hello, Kylie. Hi. All right, so you can do reviews of books that are controversial. Here's where, like, and it's up to you where to draw the line. First, you can always review the book itself in terms of like plot structure, story arc, character development, things like that, and not really touch on the controversy, depending on what it is, right? Understand sometimes, and again, it depends on what it is, but sometimes not taking a stand ends up pissing off the wrong people. Do you know what I mean? Like if it's a book that has I'm trying to pick something that's not too controversial, but let's say it's got some misogynist undertones, okay? And you don't want to touch on the misogyny. You're like, misogyny doesn't bother me that much. I don't have a big enough opinion for it to be public type of opinion, right? Even if you wouldn't allow it in your life, but it's just not big enough for you to take a stand on. But it ends up being a big part of this book. Then feminists are going to come after you. If your ideal reader is the feminist, take your stand. You know what I mean? Like, you can either kind of try to remain neutral, depending on what the controversy is. You can kind of gloss over it in your reviews in order to talk to everyone. But you really want to keep in mind who your ideal reader is and where they fall on that spectrum, or as far as like which side they fall in on that controversy. Because there's a lot of times where you're going to say like, oh my God, if I review this book and I talk about XYZ that's wrong with it, then all these people are going to be mad at me. Then it comes down to, does it matter if they're mad at you? If they're not your ideal reader, then it probably doesn't matter. Like, I work very hard to be anti-racist. I work very hard to teach my children to be anti-racist. I stand against anti-trans or anti-LGBTQ. Like, I can't even stand the words like transphobic because it's not a phobia. Like, so who is going to come after me for those types of stances? Do you know what I mean? And do I care if I piss them off in my book? I don't care, because they're never going to read my book anyway. They were never going to read my book. So I don't care if they know that I don't like that they're anti-trans. Do you know what I mean? Rhapsodic is my current read, and I related to the FMC so much. I was really looking forward to the review. What? I haven't read that one. It's been way too long since I've even read a book, let alone write. I just don't seem to have the time. This working full-time malarkey sucks. Right? It's for the birds. Good morning, Jessica. But anyway, Taylor, it comes down to, are you choosing books that your ideal reader would like? And would they like those books for the same reasons that you do? I agree with the whole don't bother posting negative reviews. Like, if you didn't like a book, just put it aside. You don't have to post a review about it. I agree with that. Depending on your line, like, I don't do pass or fails. I would say probably, if you're going to give it 3 stars and up, post, but if you would give it 2 stars and down, don't. And that's not to like give any kind of like falsity or anything, but just depending on how positive you want to keep your channel. When I do reviews, like when people ask me to do reviews and whatnot on my blog or whatever, I only post a review and I tell them flat out. Bastion Pens, have y'all heard of them? Bastion Pens sent me a request to do a review on TikTok. And I said, yeah, I'll do the review, but just to let you know, I'm only going to review it if I like it. And I'm not going to pay for the pen if I don't. Like, you send me the pen. If I like it, I'll do the review. If I don't like it, I'm not going to bother posting, because I like to keep my content positive and I don't want to post a negative thing on my channel. So they were like, oh, okay, thanks, but no thanks. And I'm like, it's such a weird thing to all right. The MMC comes into the FMC's life when she is 16 and is a friend at that time. People are saying grooming. Yeah. That yeah. That was my exact thought. That is grooming. Hello, Kimmy. You can kind of get away with that if you're writing like historical fiction, because then people go, oh, well, that was, the time. And they have this idea that it's the time. But if you're trying to put it contemporary where we know a little bit more, they're going to call it grooming. Good morning, Sabrina. Because I see that in historical romance, but not really nowadays. It's because it's not accepted now the way that it was back then. When I was 16, I would have given anything for someone to know my past and still want to be my friend, but my abandonment issues wouldn't let me open up to anyone about that. I feel that, Taylor, because when I was 16, I felt the same way, but I wouldn't have opened up to a guy. And that is what I was going to put in my review. So, okay. So, in that case, you know what? I see what's going on. In that case, don't dismiss the grooming. Like, don't dismiss it. Don't try to pass it off as we're not going to, that wasn't really a problem for me. Don't, let them know, like, as you're reading the book, let them know, like, I did have a problem with the grooming. However, I want to focus on this and how this part made me feel. Like, you can acknowledge that the grooming was problematic and still talk about the part that you did relate to without focusing on the grooming. I would not gloss over it. I would not pretend it didn't exist. In that case, if you still wanted to post a review about it, maybe include like a content warning. Be like, content warning, there's some grooming, there's some, I don't know what else, because I haven't read the book, so I don't know what else is in there, but give a content warning so that people understand it. And then you can say that, yes, the grooming was problematic. Yes, it made me feel uncomfortable knowing this about the book. However, this is the part that I want to focus on. This part here, how she felt accepted, how this person wanted to be her friend, how despite these other things, this is what was going on. And I can relate to that as. We are waiting on Jessica to send me her story. I know she was in a bad car accident and she had a concussion, and it took a while for her brain to heal, and her brain is finally coming, like, she's still not at 100% the last time I checked in on her, but there are extenuating circumstances where people can meet and then re-meet at an older age. I'm going to bite my tongue because I don't like that trope. Anyway, I don't like the age gap trope. I don't. And a lot of it is because even when they meet at an older age, it ends up still being creepy and groomy, because think about how many times, and stick with me here because we covered this when in grad school. my degree is in psychotherapy, and we covered this phenomenon where when you meet someone and it's been a very long time since the last time you saw them, and then you see them again, you still view them in your mind the way that they were. This is one of the reasons why I didn't like how they portrayed Padme and Anakin, because psychologically, she would have, or statistically and psychologically, she still would have viewed him as that 10-year-old boy, even though she met him again years later. It's not like all of a sudden, and they didn't do the development where she got to meet him as a grown-up. And that bothered me. And I love Star Wars, but that still bothered me. And it's the same phenomenon that, like, every year when you go home for the holidays or whatever, if you were the black sheep, then it doesn't matter how well you've turned your life around, they still view you as the black sheep. If you were the class clown, then it doesn't matter how well you turned your life around. You go to your high school reunion, you're still the class clown. Like, they view you the way that you ingrained your personality onto them and your being onto them the first time that they met. And it takes a long time to outgrow that. Like, you have to hang out with them every single day for them to understand you are not that person. You have grown. Otherwise, like, if they don't see the growth, they don't see the growth. Do you know what I mean? So even like you met them and then 20 years later you meet them again, psychologically, statistically, you will still view them psychologically as being 20 years younger. So it's still creepy to me. And I just don't like that trope anyway. And yeah, it's hard to find an example where it was actual genuine friendship, and not in any way kind of grooming. It's hard to find an example where the power dynamic didn't lead to at least some grooming. Alex, I think it's a combination of age gap and power dynamic, but it does depend. She's doing much better, Harley. My husband is someone I reconnected with after 17 years, but we're the same age. And we didn't date as teens. I mean, like, maybe it could be less creepy if there wasn't anything romantic like Neighbors than re-meeting them a decade later. I've seen it in a lot of rom-com novels, small town stuff. Yeah, but like Shannon, they're the same age. They went to school together. They might be like 1 or 2 years, you know, he was a junior when she was a senior or something like that. You're not seeing a rom-com where it's a 27-year-old woman and she goes back to small town where she was, you know, when she was 17 and she was babysitting a 6-year-old, and now, you know, 10 years later she goes back and now well, that would make him 16, but still, like, you're not seeing that in a rom-com. You didn't mean to derail the whole life. I mean, it's a good topic for writers to discuss because putting things out there, you have to understand your books, and I don't, like, no pressure, but your books are what people raise their kids on. And when people talk about the media and how the media shapes all of our lives, they're not just talking about Fox News. They're talking about books, newspapers, magazines, fan fiction, social media, movies. Like, they're talking about our stories, fiction and nonfiction. Like, when you think about, go back to like the 90s sitcoms, right? Everything was solved in half an hour. And so then all these kids grew up and they can't solve crap in half an hour. Like, none of us know what we're doing. We're all just kind of winging it out here, right? But for some reason, there's a whole generation of people who felt like they were failing because they felt like they should have been able to solve it. This is a problem that they should be able to solve. Or how many, even like if you get out of that part and you get into like the late 90s, early 2000s, how the financial, like, I'm trying to think of like Frasier, Friends, Seinfeld, Sex in the City. How many of them used retail therapy? And now there's a whole generation of people who can't afford rent, but they feel better when they go and buy a pen, or they feel better when they go and they buy like an expensive pair of boots or something like that. And that's fine. I am not here to judge anyone and how they handle their finances. And I say, go buy the boots. If they make you feel better, go buy the boots. But this is also part of me going, retail therapy. Like I grew up, you know, those sitcoms hit when I was in my 20s. Oh my God, I was in my 20s, 25. I was the same age as the people in Friends. Like, they shape a lot of our personalities ongoing. And so when you've got books out there, you know, when you're putting these tropes out there, it is possible that it's just a trope. It is, you know, and it is just fiction. And granted, your fiction books are not, they're not guidelines of how we should be living our lives, but they do get like consumed and absorbed into who we become. Crap ton of trauma. I learned so many toxic traits about relationships because I thought I needed to copy movies and books. I steer well clear of young characters in all my books. I really do not like the whole young woman, older man trope, personally speaking. So in Mama Bear isn't a real age gap, but FMC was a teen in love with her brother's best friend who left to NYC, came back with a baby. She looks after the baby and her crush grows. But it's not a real age gap. I haven't read that one. Then he leaves when the bio mom kidnaps the baby from daycare. 10 years pass. He returns with the baby grown up and says he still loves her. MailChimp is still annoying. MailChimp is a little annoying. I'm sorry. Hello, Jordan. So yeah, Alex, I think it's a combination of an age gap and a power dynamic. I think it needs to be like a combination of the two. The power dynamic might be there because of the age gap, right? Like a friend who sometimes babysits, for example, not someone who's in direct charge of the person's, the child's care, but you know, especially when I was young, like I was babysitting when I was 12, 11, 10. I was still a kid myself, right? So, and I was babysitting kids who were 8, 9 years old. So there wasn't really a power dynamic between the two of us. There was a bit of an age gap. I mean, there was in the time when I was babysitting because I was in charge that day, but I wasn't in direct charge of their care. You know what I mean? And so we were able to be friends, but I was in charge of that afternoon or whatever the case may be. You might also like teachers' aides, teachers, soccer coaches. They tend to be friendly with kids and they're not always trying to be creepy, but they tend to be friendly because it's a lot easier to get the kid to learn from you, to trust you, to follow your guidance in soccer or cheerleading or whatever, if they like you, if they think that you like them in a non-creepy way. You know what I mean? Kids who feel like their teachers hate them aren't really open to learning from that teacher, whether or not the hate is perceived or real or whatever, right? And teachers who feel like the kids hate them, they're not really up for teaching them, that you can do the whole I'm not here to make friends thing, but they're not up for it. But there's a definite power dynamic. That teacher holds power. The coaches hold power. Uncles, anyone, aunts. Like, I'm not trying to make it sound like it's only creepy old men who do this, but it's any time that there's a power dynamic, when that older person holds the fate of the younger person or in some way influences that younger person's development. That's probably a better way of putting it. When the older person holds part of the younger person's development in their hands or holds some sort of influence over it, that indicates power dynamic, and that is where it gets creepy. And that's where I believe it crosses the line into grooming. It's not just an age gap anymore. It crosses the line into grooming. If they met at 35 and 52, he has no power over her, or vice versa, development. You're already pretty fully well developed at 35. You know who you're going to be. Can you grow and change from there? Yeah. Can you be a better person or a worse person? Yes. Can you learn to do new things? Yes. Is he her boss? I hope not. But you know what I mean? Like, there's a real difference there when that person does not have influence over the younger person's development. "30-year-old and 50-year-old is age gap, yeah. How are you doing in North Dakota? Are you out of the snow? I just finished it. Barry is 4 years older than Gertrude. There is definitely a power dynamic that comes into play later in this book. I am seeing tons of red flags now that we are talking. Do we count audiobooks? Because I have finished a couple of those lately. I absolutely count audiobooks, and I'm trying to normalize using reading for audiobooks versus listening, just to punch it home. Like, I read the audiobook. I'm trying to normalize it. Help me out there. But yeah, they count. See, and here's the funny part. Are you ready for this? So, scientifically speaking, I'm going to have to find this study. There's a few studies at play that I find fascinating. So, there's a study that showed, several studies actually that show that reading an audiobook and reading a book that is in print or on a digital screen like a Kindle activates the same part of the brain. And so, yes, they count. They're the same. However, typing up a book like on your computer and handwriting your book on pen and paper activate different parts of the brain, according to different studies. I think that that's fascinating. Audiobooks are reading, so same parts of the brain light up when listening to an audiobook. Yes. Reading an audiobook. Yes. It's actually really interesting. I thought so too. And what they found was that when you're handwriting pen to paper, your brain is actually creating more cross references than when you're typing. It activates different parts of the brain. So I don't know. It still gets you a story at the end, but I just found that while that reading is reading, whether it's an audiobook or a print book or a digital book, reading is reading and your brain goes, ooh, I like this. But writing is different than typing. It's weird. I'm an OT, and writing is how we treat certain traumatic brain injury. I couldn't ever see someone romantically after I changed their diapers. One of my friends did. They have twin girls now. It's odd that they didn't see each other for almost 20 years. I can see why, though. It definitely feels different to me. Yeah, it feels different to me, too. But I'm not handwriting my next book anytime soon. Like that used to be one of my fantasies. I used to want to do that more than anything. I saw that the wife do that on that movie Funny Farm, and I was like, "Oh my god, I want to do that. I want to write a book on legal pads." But I do not have the patience or the wrists for that anymore. I do have the legal pads. They're all around here. Kimmy, same. I still prefer reading print because of the way that my brain works, but I have found that I can read certain audiobooks and be okay. But for the most part, fiction is not it for me. Feels different to me because my hand cramps up when writing. Same. I hand wrote one when I was young, and yeah, not ever again. My handwriting is so bad I can't read it. Sometimes it slows my brain down when I do it. I'd get them all out of order. I write with a weird combo of lower and uppercase, but it helps me read it better. I do that too. Mine is like a weird combo of lowercase, uppercase, and cursive versus print. And it will flip. It's not like all of my S's look like print S's. Sometimes they're the cursive S and sometimes they're the print S. Sometimes my R's are the cursive R's and sometimes my R's are the print R's. It's just weird combination, but I actually like my handwriting a lot, but I love H.G. Wells, but the language is so technical and I find listening on audiobook gets the general idea across, whereas a literal book you get bogged down in the meaning of words. Does that make sense? Maybe, yeah. I'm afraid of the side quest. I think because when you're reading a print book, there's this feeling that you can pause it. And I know that you can pause audiobooks, but it's like more readily pausable. And it doesn't feel like a stretch to go, I don't know what that word means. Bookmark, go look it up. There's not that big of a stretch there, right? Or to try to go around the context, like read the paragraph a few more times in order to grab the context of the word that you might not recognize. So that's a little bit easier to do, I think, in print than when you're reading the audiobook. However, it still activates the same part of the brain. So it still counts. I already have trouble with them staying on the path. Mine is a blend of print cursive as well. It looks pretty on paper. Reading on audiobook. Taylor, you would have one whole legal pad for every single side quest. I like audiobooks because my working memory issues aren't as bad when listening as opposed to physically reading words. Ah. Now we do all the side quests. Oh, have y'all signed up for the Self-Publishing Live 2024? That is one thing I was able to start working on over the weekend was the heck am I going to talk about? I have not heard a rumor of a new Stargate series. I haven't even watched the old Stargate series. Actually reading 2 books right now and listening to one. What's that? Self-Publishing Live is a conference in North Carolina, but they have a virtual ticket available. which I am guessing many of you, there it is. If you were going to go, it would have to be virtually because, kids. Mute. I don't want any kind of weird echo. I'm going to put the link in the chat. There we go. Yay, Judith! But it's hosted by Brian Cohen, who does the Amazon ads course that I like so much. In fact, he's getting ready to do a free Amazon ads challenge, which I've done like 3 times. He's really good at it. But he's hosting this conference in North Carolina in October this year, and he asked me to go and talk, and so he asked me to go talk, and I was like, oh my God, Brian Cohen asked me to talk. And then I found out that it's not just me who's going to be there, but it's also Becca Syme. So I get to meet 2 of my heroes. Stargate Brad wrote it and Amazon said no. Then the new video game came out. Brad is still trying to convince Amazon. I was editing a chapter and noticed a side quest and thought, I don't need this. And then I actually heard in my head, I made sure there is world building so you can't delete it. Yeah, Dale, if you can't afford your ticket, please do not go into debt trying to afford it. Don't. Early on in your career, you do not need. Conferences do not make or break your career, especially early on. Later on, they're mostly about the networking, the meeting of the people. Yes, there can be valuable tips in them. Yes, you can learn a lot by going to them. However, for the most part, you're going to learn the same things scouring YouTube and blog posts and hanging out in writers groups and things like that. There's never been anything exclusive as far as like lessons learned and stuff to a conference, where the only way, the only people who ever learned this one tip were the people who were at this conference live, because then it was never taught again. That doesn't happen. The value of them mostly comes in the networking. And a lot of new authors, they can't always afford the networking, especially early on in their careers. So if you can't go, don't let FOMO drive you to feeling guilty or drive you into debt or anything along those lines. It's fine. I just don't want the people who are at that place to forget. Like, if you are at a spot where you're like, yeah, I can go, I can make it, I have the money, I don't want you to forget that it's there. That's all. I don't want you to be like, oh, damn, I wanted to go, but I forgot about it. That's all. I am going to nerd out at this con. I'm so going to nerd out. I'm going to freak out. I'm going to be like, ah! I still can't get over that they asked me to go speak. Like, I'm a nobody. I'm like, oh. Oh, the news challenge started yesterday. Okay, jump in there. If you haven't done it, I got to go rewatch it. I'm in that group. So I got to go rewatch it. There is still B5 News. I have daydreams that I get to write the new series with Brad. Now that would be my ultimate dream job. I think my ultimate dream job would be working with M. Night Shyamalan on some of his movies. I really want to do that. That or, no, that's it. as far as like dream jobs, there are other jobs that I wouldn't mind doing. Like I wouldn't mind working for James Patterson. He hires ghostwriters all the time. I wouldn't mind being one of those ghostwriters just because I really want to see his process. And I think it would be fascinating to learn from someone as prolific as he is. Um, but I love M. Night Shyamalan's storytelling. I would love, I doubt he's ever going to get another co-author, but I would love to work there with him. You're amazing. Oh, thank you. Take lots of photos. Absolutely. How do you guys start writing your book? I have so much trouble starting and finishing than I do in the middle. Then start in the middle. You don't have to start at the beginning. In fact, I don't think, other than client books, I don't think I ever actually started a book in the middle. I think I always just started with where I was at, and then I don't think I ever actually started a book at the beginning, except for client books. I pretty much, even the books that I have fully planned out, I still end up starting with what I think was the beginning, and then realizing like, oh, this would be so much better if I, went back an extra day and did this or whatever. So I still end up like, as I'm writing, going back and adding something to the beginning, either planned or unplanned. I just start with where you're at. And if you're not sure how to start the book, that's okay. You can add that after the fact. That also might be a good question. If you can get most of your book done and you're just like, I don't know how to, like I've got 17 chapters, but I just don't have a beginning and I just don't have quite the end. You can hire an editor to help you fill in those two big blanks. Like you don't have to stress about it as much, but there's a really good chance that as you're writing, they will come to you. I just wanted to see how much it is. I mean, virtual is actually pretty cheap. Yeah, but it's not something I can do right now. Yeah, and that sucks because it's early bird pricing, which is why I'm kind of pressing it now because these are the best prices that you're going to get until next year. So if they do it the way that Social Media Marketing World does it, anyway, which I'm going to in a couple of months. I'm not going in person though. But I have a virtual ticket. So I've gone for like the past 5 years. I love it. Anyway, what they do is at the end of their conference, they release the tickets to their next conference. And that's like the cheapest that you can get. So if he follows along those same lines, then that means at the end of this conference in October, he will begin pre-selling the 2025. It's 2024. That felt so weird. But that means he'll be releasing the 2025 tickets in October, November-ish, usually even lower than the early bird pricing was. Not always, but if he follows the same pattern. Gina Denny keeps popping up on my FYP. Have you heard of her? And do you find her discouraging for self-publishing? I have not. Do I need to go find her? Definitely don't start in the beginning. Stuff gets added and added. The only reason I started mine at the beginning is because I connected to that part of the FMC. I do the first and last page and then do the middle and bounce from there. Nice. Can you explain the different types of editors? I think I have them confused. Okay, so I skip scenes sometimes too that I know I have to do just to do a juicy scenes in return to fill out the story. Need to add. Yeah. Okay, so different types of editing. So you've got developmental editor. They're the ones who they look at the big picture of your story. They look at the structure of the story. And it's a lot of like plot holes, fill in the blanks. They make sure that the story is complete. They also take a look at plots, themes, character arcs, things along those lines. If you're writing a romance, they'll look at the arc of the relationship that should be the focal point of the romance. So they're really like big picture. What is being said? That's the developmental editor. The line editor is the how it's being said. You know that argument, like it's not what you said, it's how you said it. That's the line edit. So the line editor looks a lot at tone, um, um, presence. They'll look at the individual characters, like once the arc is complete in the developmental edit, now they're looking at how the character shows up, whether or not they have a unique presence, whether or not they have a unique voice, things along those lines. And it also looks a lot at the tension and pacing of the story. So the line edit helps handle, like, do the fight scenes feel fighty enough, and do the steamy scenes feel steamy enough? Does it slow down where it needs to slow down, and does it pick back up when it needs to pick up, kind of thing. And then copy edit is it feels deeper because that's looking at, like, word choice. Is this the best way to say this sentence? But it's zoomed way in the details, but it's not deep, obviously, because they're not handling anything structural. They're not telling you, the copy editors are not handling pacing, and they're not handling plot holes. They're handling, is this the best way to say this sentence? Is this, and that's where you lose a lot of your adverbs. You'll lose a lot of your fillers, like that, or just, or in order, and things like that. Your line edit will also often handle transitions. I forgot about that. They will also often handle the transitions that go from one chapter to the next, to make, like, the end of one chapter feel like there's a little bit of a micro cliffhanger and then a hook at the beginning of the next chapter, so that people want to know what happens next, and then they flip to the next chapter and they get going. So they'll do that. Separate from those three is your proofreader, and they're the ones that were looking to make sure spelling, capitalization, punctuation, and all of those things are correct. Like, they're there to make the manuscript error-free. Thought she had great tips at first, but now I notice she is more toward traditional publishing, but says she loves self-publishing and it is great for some. I mean, maybe she does. I don't know. But in my experience, people who say it's great for some, it's weird. Like, I don't know. I mean, it is great for some, so it's not inaccurate, but it feels condescending a little bit. Maybe I need to go watch your videos, though. I don't know. I mean, traditional publishing is great for some, too. I don't know. She keeps saying a lot that self-publishing is usually very expensive. It can be. Self-publishing is not necessarily cheap. Especially if you want to do a good job. And that's the thing. It's because when you're self-publishing, you are not just launching your career as an author. You are launching your career as a publisher. People forget this part. They think that they're just throwing a book out there as the author, but they're not. They're launching a publishing company. They just happen to be their only client. And that means taking on the expenses and the workflow of any other publishing house, just not taking on the clientele. So the editing, the proofreading, the ISBN, the formatting, the cover design, all of that falls on your shoulders. Can you do it cheaply? Yeah, there are so many services out there that allow you to do it for free or for cheap, as long as they get a cut of some sort, right? KDP, you can use their ISBN, right? But when you use their ISBN, now they get a cut of your book. You are saying they are the publisher instead of you. So now they get a cut of the book. you don't own the ISBN anymore. That makes it harder for you to distribute elsewhere. You can still do it, but that's kind of like going into Taco Bell and saying, "Can you sell this Big Mac for me?" Like, no, you can't go into Barnes and Noble with a book that you published on KDP and used a KDP ISBN and expect to sell it in Barnes and Noble. That it's almost impossible to do that. So by giving you that free ISBN, Amazon has kind of locked you in and said, we're the publishers, so you can only sell it here now. And it kind of, they take a big piece of that pie. You can self-edit your book. Most authors don't quite do it correctly. They think that that just means proofreading, but you can self-edit your book. You can get feedback from voluntary beta readers, alpha readers. You can get sensitivity readers. Those things don't have to cost money. It's up to you as the publishing house to decide what's in your budget and where you're going to spend that budget. You can go on to Canva or wherever and design a free book cover. Is it going to be good? I don't know. Maybe you're an artist. Maybe you're amazing at it. I have no idea, right? But there are ways to essentially cut costs. Sometimes those ways include cutting corners. Sometimes those ways mean cutting up the pie and handing them away. But yeah, when you are self-publishing, you are not just an author anymore. You are a publishing house, and you are taking on the responsibilities of the publishing house. Putting an Insta account together. Nice. I don't like Instagram either, but I'm trying to come around. I'm working on it. That's why I use Drafted Digital as an aggregator and publish wide. Drafted Digital is amazing. Good morning, Zara. I think I said that wrong. Now you know why I don't often say your name out loud. Because in my head it's Zyra, but I think that's wrong. And actually, I have to start like wrapping up. We should talk about this tomorrow. Basically, Sarah with a Z. Sarah, Zara. Okay, I got it wrong, but that's okay. Thank you for correcting me. Okay, I have to run. Taylor, this is a good conversation to have at some point, like when we talk about the differences between self-publishing and traditional publishing. So bring it up tomorrow because I'll forget. Would you just say a quick hi to my daughter, Ella? Hello, Ella. Hi, Ella. She sat there this whole time just watching. Oh, is she going to be a writer too? Go tell your story. All right, y'all have an amazing day. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this morning. Go get all the words written. Just putting it out there as gentle reminder, Library of Congress video. Library of Congress video. Library of Congress video. Oh my God. You're right. Okay. Y'all go get all the words written and I will talk to you tomorrow morning. Okay. Bye.